Hey everyone, Anthony for AVP Aquariums here, and today we've got to talk about some good and some bad going on in some of my tanks, and I've got to clean out a couple of my canister filters too, so I figured I'd bring you guys along for that ride. As always, hope you enjoy. So out of all of my tanks, Nano Corner is probably taking the hardest hit right now. The 5-gallon fluval spec, on top of having a lot of blackbeard algae growing in it, has come up with a infestation of Hydra. The only thing I can think of is I did introduce some new plants recently, and I'm guessing I probably got some in on there, but they are absolutely taking over. The only good thing is it's not really bothering the fish that are in there right now. I put in a couple of my guppies to see if they ate it, but they don't seem to be doing anything there, so they'll be coming right back out of there. But the Hydra's not really bothering anyone right now, so in the meantime, it's there. It still is interesting to look at, but I will probably have to end up treating this tank for the Hydra. On a good note though, something really entertaining has come about. I have figured out that my swamp darter is pretty much tongue trained at this point. I kind of figured this out by accident. I was putting some bloodworms in the tank for him and he started going right for them, and now it's pretty much become our little thing we do. It's actually funny. He will come up to the front of the tank and greet me when I sit down at my desk. He's essentially become a puppy dog at this point. So now moving over to the Cobalt 8-gallon. First things first, we got to get rid of some of this duckweed off of the top, because with it up there, overgrown the way it is, we cannot even see into the tank. So with that being done, let's start off with the good things going on in this tank. Firstly, all the plants are doing really well, with the exception of the Altalanthera reinekii, which did get shaded out a little bit by all the duckweed in the tank, but it's still somewhat healthy and able to make a comeback. So I'm not calling it quits on that plant just yet. The other real positive thing to note about this tank is just the absolute plethora of fry that are in here. In my last video, I mentioned that there were about maybe 14, 15 fry in the tank. That is not the case anymore. There has to at least be about 25 to 30 in here. So I think it goes without saying that the guppies are absolutely happy and thriving. And you can see varying sizes of fry, which means I've had quite a few drops over the past just 2 weeks alone. And for the bad news in this tank, much like my fluval spec, this tank seems to be struggling with the algae infestation. Luckily no Hydra in this one. But in this tank, instead of it being blackbeard algae, it's more of a mix of blackbeard and some staghorn algae. It was much worse last week, but I've been dosing with a little bit of liquid carbon, and that seems to have been helping a little bit, as well as having the layer of duckweed at the surface of the tank. So hopefully I won't be dealing with this issue for too much longer, but I'm not in a rush to get rid of it. I'm just taking my patience with it and kind of just letting it run its course. So it has been probably a solid 6 months since I have cleaned out the canister filter for the paludarium tank. So as you see in a second here, as I squeeze out these sponges, the water goes dirty very quickly. They weren't really clogged, but there was a lot of fine debris in the sponges and on the biological media too. So I wanted to go ahead and get that all cleaned out of there. And one thing I've never really mentioned before is probably my favorite thing about this filter is the way the lid locks into place. It really gives it a nice seal. And between the two canister filters I've had, this one I've never had a leaking issue with, and I don't think I ever will. Alright, so while the tank is filling up really quick, I do want to show you guys the brand new flower that has sprung up in the paludarium. My Syningia freckles plant that I got from Glasshouse Tropicals not too long ago has been growing up a flower spike and finally bloomed yesterday in the morning and has been open for the last couple of days. And it is absolutely stunning. It's got a really nice purple and white coloration to it, and that is just really cool. I put this plant in here specifically for the fact that it flowered like this, but I was not expecting it to happen this quickly. And the other plants flowering in here are the dwarf orchids. This one and the other large one on the other side of the tank here are both flowering. The smaller ones haven't started flowering yet, but they're still tiny, but they are starting to grow new leaves. So that is good on their part. The other one is right back here. If I can push this out of the way, it's kind of hard to see from this angle. But that plant is doing well. And also this plant, which I am forgetting the name too. I have all these names written down in a notebook, but when I have to film, I instantly forget for some reason. But I'll put that up on screen. That one is a slower grower, but it is growing nicely, so it's not an issue. Slower grower is good. That means I don't have to trim it as often, but it is still looking nice in here.